Roads, nobody can threaten the life of my citizens, my people. They will be accessible. If the Prime Minister says that, like 3 words in his speech, rather than talking about GST and Nepal, if he said like that, what kind of confidence it would have given to us? Do you think that this violence, had it happened in Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, they would have allowed it to happen like this? National media anchor shaking hand, that's a body language. They knew that it will not. I said, why? He has never acknowledged the crisis. As if it is his game plan to divide the state on communal lines. For a Prime Minister of the country to behave like this.
I remember after he became a member of parliament from Manipur, Inner Manipur, Mr. Bimol Akoijam, in his first speech, that too which was in middle of the night, very vociferously, he spoke about Manipur and he said, why isn't the Prime Minister coming? Why isn't the Prime Minister coming to Manipur to check with the children of Manipur? If he is the father of the nation, why isn't the father caring about the children of Manipur? That was 2024, after he became a member of parliament. But Manipur violence started in the year 2023, precisely May 2023. And after 28 months, countless hours of agony, endless wait, the Prime Minister did come to Manipur today. And his own stop in Manipur, which were 2 in number, one in Churachandpur, other one in Imphal, is a direct confirmation of a deep divide which is still existing in this state. He came, he spoke, he left. Left behind are the people, including Member of Parliament, Mr. Bimol Akoijam. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Did you listen to the Prime Minister's speech?
Yeah, I listened to his speech on TV. I was sitting with my CLP and we were listening together in his chamber.
Okay. When you were listening to him, were you listening to him as a leader who belongs to the opposition party, or you were listening to him as a Manipuri?
No, it is both. I was looking at whether he's going to show some sense last moment. In his speech, I was trying to see whether he has an iota of concern for the state and particularly for this crisis. Because all other things that happened before his speech clearly told me that his visit is not a dedicated visit to address the crisis. It is a stopover because he was visiting Mizoram, and so he just dropped by and it's like pit stop sort of a thing. So, but I was still waiting till the end before I pass any judgment whether he specifically gave us any idea that he's concerned about the crisis. But sorely disappointed at the end, he didn't.
Okay. The Prime Minister coming after 28 months, that in a way had also ignited some amount of hope. And you are saying you're disappointed.
Yeah, that's what, I knew that as the things get unfolded, people have been saying there's some VVIPs coming. Nobody has said ever that the Prime Minister is coming. I think it is less than 24 hours. I think the Chief Secretary gave a press conference. That's the first time that he said that the PM is coming. And as such, I also got an invitation to attend his function late last evening. And so did our MLAs, and including the CLP. It's unprecedented, that the Prime Minister didn't announce his visit. Itself is very intriguing. Then he came, and then I realized in his itinerary, I keep on hearing, because they were not very clear about his visit. In the itinerary, I came to know that he will be addressing a public meeting. That's what I heard. I said, then I realized that this is first, it is a stopover. It's not a targeted or dedicated visit to address the crisis in Manipur. He just happened to be around nearby, so he just dropped in. And second, in his itinerary, then I realized that this is confirmation that he has not come here to address the crisis. Because if he had come with that intention, he would have invited in different slots. His office would have arranged a meeting with the political leaders of the state, including opposition party leaders and civil society leaders, prominent citizens, women groups, and students, stakeholders broadly, and also top security officers. Other, he would chair a meeting, and that's the usual thing that you expect when a head of the government comes to address the issues. And nothing of that kind was visible in his itinerary. It's only a public meeting. And the last one is to listen to him. At least he said something about the crisis. He didn't. He just inaugurated something. He talked strangely about Nepal and GST. You know, it's almost like a contemptuous, display towards the suffering of the people in the state.
Okay. Ever since he came on social media, the BJP supporters, BJP ministers, BJP leaders, they're all talking about Prime Minister's magnanimity in visiting Manipur, that he is visiting Manipur multiple times as in his tenure as a Prime Minister, that he has always prioritized Northeast, that he cares for Manipur. And I would take you back to 2024 Lok Sabha election political campaign when Union Home Minister Amit Shah came. He said, Narendra Modi Manipur ke mitra hai. It rings in my ears. So today when he came, did he try addressing the real issues at heart?
No, he didn't. That's what I said. If already the itinerary is in. So first I said, step by step I was watching. The fact that he didn't announce his visit to Manipur. As only 24 hours before, then the Chief Secretary said something about his visit, and as such, we also got the invitation less than, 20 hours or 12 hours. In the evening, we got the invitation for his programs.
You don't see magnanimity in the Prime Minister?
Nothing. Rather, I see contempt. I mean, he has never acknowledged the crisis.
Why do you think so? Why do you think so?
It's a mystery for a Prime Minister of the country to behave like this. He has expressed sorrow and sadness of the loss of life in accidents in a neighboring state or in his home state. He hasn't uttered a single word of expressing grief and sorrow over the loss of life or the kind of crisis that we are going through.
When the Morbi bridge fell in Gujarat, Prime Minister was there the very next day.
Yeah, he did.
When the Air India crash happened in June this year, he was there in Ahmedabad.
But just
the very next
after,
day.
you remember, just after this, something happened in Orissa, if I remember correctly. Within a month time, the gap is, he visited there. So he doesn't feel, I mean, that's the strangest part. One of the unprecedented crises people are witnessing in Manipur. And the Prime Minister did not utter a word of expressing sorrow or or regret or plan. Even today in his speech, I was did he mention anything about the IDPs that so and so we are trying, we have a committee form, and within this timeline we will ensure that
Absolutely.
and they must go back to nobody can stop them from my citizens going back to their homes. That's an assertion of the Prime Minister's, and many of the detractors will be silenced by that. And then nobody can deny the citizen of my country from getting access to public facilities like highways, hospitals, and airports. We will ensure that whatever happened, we will ensure that this will happen, and nobody can challenge the Indian state with arms. So we will be disarming it. We have done it enough. We have appealed. Now its time is over. We'll take a stern action. That's a tough talking and responsible statement by the Prime Minister. Since he hasn't done anything of that kind, is just implicitly encouraging the divide. The fact that the only thing that is acknowledged is the division. That he went to Churachandpur Infal race. It is as if it is his game plan to divide the state on communal lines. And people must remember that he is from the party known for polarizing society.
You are saying the Prime Minister is still trying to polarize Manipur and having seen so much of bloodshed in the past
No,
28
no, that's
months?
that's what I said that he is appealing to the people. And the peace is a very generic, general term. The specific issues that we have, disarming, people getting access to highways, people going back to their homes, and fixing accountability for this violence. Who has started it? Who was the one who burned the tires in that gate on that day? Who were those men, armed men with assault rifle, who were attacking civilian houses in Torbung, Maitai houses? Remember that those images that flashed? And how is it the police did not take action, army did not take actions the next day or in the evening itself? Churachandpur, More, Imphal burns in the evening of 3rd, following that incident in Torbung areas, right? And then next day, people were slaughtered in the capital city. You didn't take actions, you didn't take precautions for that. After that, in Churachandpur, right under the nose of the administration, the entire residential colony of the Maites have been flattened one by one. These are right under the nose of the government of India.
And they allowed this to happen, you are saying?
That is what obviously. Have you ever seen this? Remember the sequence of events. Somebody, the rumor is that burned tires. We've seen that. Who were those guys? Was it a false flag or somebody is playing games? Who were those responsible for that one? And followed by who were those armed men with assault rifles, burning down Maitai houses? Who were those people? What happened to that gun house looting in the intervening night? On the 3rd, Maitai houses were burned down in Churachandpur and Tegnopal. So 2 houses of the Kukis were burned down by evening in Imphal. Next day, people started killing. Right in the capital city. Why didn't you do anything about that? Then slowly, then you allow in Churachandpur, the Maitai houses, after people have been driven out, those were reduced to ashes, it's ground, entire colony. Then how did this thing happen despite the fact that you have 2 divisions? Indian Army, paramilitary you have, one is IZR South, which is a division. Then you have 57 Mountain Division.
Yep.
So 2 division means what is the fighting force? It's around 30,000 minimum. And then you pumped in a lot of columns of Indian Army from the neighboring states were mobilized right from the night of the 3rd. And CRPF, despite that, all these things have been allowed to happen, and to date, people are still languishing in relief camps.
Absolutely, I was coming to that. I've been to inside relief centers and they are still languishing there after 28 months. And the Prime Minister spoke about कर देंगे, सब कुछ हो जाएगा, सही हो जाएगा. कब होगा? Nobody knows. I mean, had he given out a timeline, okay, in next 2 months, all these houses would be built. He spoke about GST revolution.
That's what I said.
And he said that इसके बाद सीमेंट घर बनाना आसान हो जाएगा. अगर घर बनाना आसान हो जाएगा तो सरकार क्यों घर नहीं बना रहे? सरकार इन लोगों के लिए घर क्यों नहीं बना रहे?
That is the strangest thing. That's what I'm saying. He talked about Nepal and it's okay. I mean, but we were waiting for him to say something, which I've said. No, as the Prime Minister said, from now onwards, we will not allow anybody to challenge Indian state with arms roaming around. We'll disarm.
So you're raking up a very important issue, the force and the might of our forces, okay? And it's very important to mention that we are all very proud of Operation Sindoor, right? As a citizen of this country, we're all very proud of Operation Sindoor. The Operation Sindoor was done by our own forces. And Pahalgam happens in the month of April, 22nd of April. And by 7th of May, we had launched Operation Sindoor, which is not even a month. So we know the capabilities of our forces. And here you have Manipur, where the crisis has continued for over 20 months. Do you think had the forces been given khuli chhoot, free hand, they would have been able to contain it?
Yeah, they should see. Remember that it is the army officials and every security personnel, including army, they were given this knowledge. It is part of their training that when you are in civil, in the aid of civil authority, what are the legal provisions available? They are, you ask any officers who have been trained in Indian Army, they are aware of IPC 131, which enables them to respond even without the permission of the district magistrate or a district commissioner. They can first respond if around their deployment under his jurisdiction, if anything in life and property or the public order is disturbed, he's supposed to first respond. So they said that we don't have order, and Indian Army also making of these are something to be investigated. APSPA Sahi, Churachandpur and all these areas is under the APSPA. How did you allow that residential colony to be flattened? Not at the heat of the moment of the 4, 5, 6 of May, much afterwards. Brick by brick you flatten it. How is it possible without the complicity of the Indian state?
I mean,
you understand this?
Absolutely, and I want to I want to highlight this not because I've done this story. I also want to highlight this because many people do not like me because I try and expose the truth a little too much as how it looks. I've been to a front line, and I will not name where it was. It's not about who were manning that front line, which community they belong to. The fact that young people were holding guns, that itself is concerning for the country. But I found as a bigger concern, when I reached to the front line, I crossed BSF camp, I crossed CSF camp, and where the front line was, from a stone throw distance, there was a military outpost. So how come I could go see that, young people holding arms, and the institution called our army and our forces, they could not see it?
So I think one day, Tamal, somebody from the either global media or this country itself must ask this question. Otherwise, this incident, you will know that, how is that? I've been saying it from the day one. Indian state might, the writ of the state must work, it must assert and rein in the violence. My first interview in the national media is with the print. It was recorded, if my memory serves me well, on the 20th of May. It was telecasted on 21st. And there I said, it's like a partition, and state must rein in. Why didn't they try to get ready to deal with this crisis in Imphal? When you knew that those images of the Torbung areas is bound to have but somehow there is a huge well plan, and this had been twisted, this word well plan, orchestrated to say, to blame and demonize Meiteis. There is a huge part. There have been allegations of various kinds, needs to be investigated. People taking chutti earlier and moving out, belonging to a certain community, moving out of Imphal beforehand, and people who are posted there in Churachandpur saying that there is something about this time. And in the deposition given to even the so-called independent tribunal, the abusing of the communities in Churachandpur started. The Meitei religious places have been vandalized for 2-3 days. All these things, and then along with the allegation of these people from the Imphal area being present there, this needs to be investigated.
How come there was no intelligence? And even if there...
And then the worst thing is that you have seen yourself. There is a CRPF, there is BSF, there is army, and there are other guys who are holding guns. You could have said, this is not your job. It is our job to maintain
law and order.
Law and order and protect your life. You can't hold guns and protect your village. But Indian state has allowed that. You remember these intellectuals have written about privatization of violence and so on. Sarwa Julum ke khilaf likhte hai, and you don't ask this question even today by the so-called left liberal groups as well, who talk so much about Sarwa Julum and privatization of the violence. They have never asked this. They are part of the information war by accusing and demonizing one community and being the protector of that. Instead of asking, be that in the hill or valley, how is that the Indian Army, CRPF, all of them have allowed the so-called village volunteers in these armed groups.
Sir,
I'm saying that this is something that I know, and even today, I mean, I don't know whether you're aware of this PUCL report. It's a horrendous thing. I know what factually incorrect one they're throwing up, and I wrote a letter to them, and they said that, I said, why did you publish dead bodies without any sense? What can it do? You will inflame passion with these dead bodies. Cookies, dead bodies all around. And I said, it's not about dead body. I said, victims, You don't show the other side. Why? And I'm not even raising about you show cookie ka body, not the other. I'm saying, why did you show? Indian
I mean,
intellectuals have fought against the Western media during coronavirus. Europeans suffer the same thing, but they don't show their dead bodies. But in Africa, in India, floating over the river and all, they will do it. So Indian intellectuals have attacked that as the Orientalist, racist attitude towards us. But the same people will show. Strangely, when I wrote a letter, they even gave me a reply which smacks of the same thing the New York Times said. Responded to the criticism. It's amazing.
I mean,
So I'm saying is that we have not asked. I think I'm just trying to hook on to what you've said. This has been a question. Anybody must have seen that armed youths are there in the name of defending their village and life. Both sides.
Absolutely.
There instead, now this guy, instead of asking a fundamental question, how did you allow that? Privatization of violence. They said, Maitai armed groups, ye victim hai, ye perpetrator hai. They have been doing it.
I mean-
so fundamental question I have been raising is that how is that the Indian state allow this?
There was no statement from the government after the state armory was looted. I mean, that baffles me. And today, don't laugh. There is a Bhakt Mandali, and I'm saying that very consciously. I know I would antagonize them. They're trying to propagate on social media. They're saying that there was a deep state. CIA wanted to topple Indian government. US had a hand in this. Through Manipur, they wanted to create an unrest and topple Indian government. Prime Minister Modi has always guarded India well. And today, when he visited Manipur, it is a confirmation that he cares. I mean, how do I say?
That's the strange part. See, I'm saying it, fundamental questions have not been asked.
We are asking, sir. You said international media, somebody from India. We are constantly asking the questions.
See, the one about, you have a machinery, you have armed forces. You could have reigned in the violence very easily. Don't tell me that there is a conspiracy. It may be there. I'm not going to rule it out. Even if it's there, you are so important that you allow this violence for 2 years.
I mean, if there is a conspiracy, I think it is important for the nation to know that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have waited for 28 months. If there is any international hand, as you rightly said, even I won't rule out. But someone innocuous writing it on social media, trying to build a narrative, is certainly not serving the cause. I want to know from the confirmed authority.
Yeah.
Let them come out and say there was an international hand.
This is what they are trying to do. In a fundamental question,
Explain.
I said CRPC 131, there are Upspa area, Chura, Chanpur, Tamenglong, all these things are Tengnopal, these are all Upspa area, many of the foothills. Even if you don't have AFSPA, you have this civil power under IPC 131. So what have you done to stop? Right in front of you, villages have been destroyed. What did you do? And then you said that police, the arms were looted. What were we doing? What actions have you taken? These are fundamental questions. But, I get a feeling that there is something unique about this violence. Is that the whole media, the way they have fallen in Maitai versus Kuki, even this highway they are saying it. The other day, one spokesperson from the Kuki armed group said, we have never blocked. And he said this line, anybody can travel at their own risk. What does it mean? If a gangster says that, we don't block, you can travel on your own risk, it's the state who will say, who are you to threaten? It's my responsibility to ensure that people get access to the road, to the airport, or to the hospitals.
Absolutely. In fact, I was heartbroken hearing that story of the other air hostess who died in Air India crash, and she was from Kangpukpi. Her body could not land in Imphal.
Yeah.
That's so unfortunate. In fact, the family had to take a detour, get the body landed in a different state, and then by road come. It was inhuman at so many levels.
Thankfully, many of the civil society groups in the valley said, bring her through the Imphal airport, we will escort them till here.
I mean, imagine on social media, the leaders are saying that Prime Minister was so committed to Manipur that the chopper could not land, and then he went by road. And that brings me that question, he took that road, and the road is a testament of divide. You cross that road, you have to cross that buffer zone. There are multiple checkpoints. Even today when I came and I went there, I had to go through that checkpoints. So the buffer zone is existing. The Prime Minister has taken that road. I have taken that road. But people from the hills cannot come to the plains, and people from plains cannot really go to the hills, particularly belonging to the Meitei and the Kuki community. So what is the point in propagating that the road, he has taken that road, when the road cannot be taken by all?
That's what I'm telling you. This violence in history must be investigated. If anybody is interested, you should investigate it. I think it's very unfortunate that I have been asking for a JPC. The parliamentary committee. How seriously this issue has been taken by the rest of the country. I have been asking.
You barely get chance to speak.
No. See, Tamal, I'm telling you, I have been teaching and meeting people from across the country as well as outside. Call whatever they want to. But I'm telling you, this violence all over again taught you what does Northeast means to the rest of the country. And Manipur is just an example. Whether you like it or not, this is a fact. I'm telling you, this is a fact. I'll give you examples after example. Whichever theory you want to use, which is taught in the post-colonial courses across the globe, the so-called global south versus north, and the theorization, colonial epistemology, how caste is been consolidated by colonial practice, decolonization, all these theories you apply and you will know that this country, how it treats the Northeast, and Manipur is a classic example. People are saying talk to each other to solve. When the Hindus and Muslims fight, do you ever say that the community should talk, or do you ask that what the DM Sahab was doing, what the SP was doing, who's this criminal, you can't take law into your own hand, and so forth. That's the way people talk. Nobody says, Hindus and Muslims should sit down together and talk it out. Rasta nahi ja paya to baatchit kar lo. This can only come from a mentality where you see this as their problem and our intervention.
Professor Akoijam, as it is, you are from AJNU. I mean, they would definitely now call you as someone fostering separatist ideas.
No, it's not. Let them call it. This is a fact. And I still remember my friend Yogendra Yadav once wrote, you can check this, it is during 2001 crisis. He used me as a trop in his, in his writing. It's published in Telegraph and in one of the Hindi newspaper, in Hindi version as well. There he said, we solve their problem. That's the mainstream attitude. There's nothing separatist about it. Indians were part of anthropological subject by the colonial epistemology, and they have been chucked out of the history because history is for the civilized Europe. Understand? And that is exactly what the Indian scholarship has been doing for the last 75 years. You take out the history. In fact, the Indian History Congress, Northeast history was not even included. There's a separate segments of the neighboring state and the other history. So you see in the practice...
you have been very vocal about a lot of things now.
So I'm saying it, let me complete this.
Sorry.
This violence is all the same attitude. They are showing it. What is separatist about this? When you said that there is a continuity between the colonial and the post-colonial, ये किसका theory? ये मेरा नहीं है. This is all global south talks about it. Professor Ashish Nandi's work, you check it any damn work, or you look at Parthu Chatterjee's work. The Prime Minister is saying that he will decolonize, so IPC has been changed and others. You remember that? People, everybody, Tom, Dick and Harry talks about it. That continuity, a classic example is the Northeast. And this crisis, I have asked straight, looking at the face of the anchors in the national media, I said, do you think that this violence, had it happened in Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, they would have allowed it to happen like this? They said like this. All of them is on media. National media anchor shaking hand, that's a body language. They knew that it will not. I said, why?
You still give so much of importance to national media.
No, I'm saying the so-called national. That's why I keep on writing. So what I'm saying is, if you think that this is nothing separate, you're to national claim, eh, no? So you're excluding people. Dalits have been excluded. So does the Northeast has been excluded. Really remember that you did notice something in his speech today. He mentioned one martyr from our state.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
And when he appreciated, there's also a Muslim pilot from Manipur, Pangal, who was awarded. Did he say any word about appreciating him?
No.
Who has been awarded for bombing, destroying assets in Pakistan during this operation.
Yes.
An Air Force pilot,
Yes.
son of the soil from Manipur, but happens to be a Pangal. I was just curious. Yeah, this it's a layers of exclusions I am hearing, but all said and done, at least I was looking for a moment. He said, nobody can challenge the Indian state, we will disarm. Within this, we have enough appeal to it, we have done it, we'll take it hard. If a Prime Minister says like this, it sends out a message. And he says, I know people have suffered, we will not allow, we will build it, timeline is this, by the turn of this year, we will be doing this, to ensure that you go back. Roads, nobody can threaten the life of my citizens, my people. They will be accessible. If the Prime Minister says that, like 3 words in his speech, rather than talking about GST and Nepal, if he said like that, what kind of confidence it would have given to us? That the Prime Minister means business and he cares. That is what I am saying. So it's not about Congress, it's not about BJP. This is the basic thing that the Prime Minister should have said.
So finally, you have both your MPs are from Congress now. Both your MPs, this side, that side. When people elected you to the parliament, they expected some change in their future. Have you been able to do so? Are you in a position to do anything? Are you people talking, trying to bring communities together? I'm sorry for trying to sound again the cliche. At some point, talking has to happen. If A doesn't do, then B has to initiate. Are you people doing that, trying it?
See, first of all, my job is, he just as not recognizing, acknowledging is denial of your existence. That's why I was quoting today in the press conference. This Hannah Arendt's, is a famous, take on how language and articulation is important. It's an experience. If you don't speak about it, it's non-existent. It doesn't become public. So he has been denying, not acknowledging that it's been a crisis. So
you use that word invisible.
It's trying to make it invisible. So the point to speak is to make it visible. So this is part of the effort to address the crisis.
So you are trying to make it visible.
Yeah, visible so that people acknowledge, and then only then you can deal with it, right? And then certain perspective on this thing, instead of, I said it like you are looking like a European will look at the crisis in Africa, and I'm just trying to remember this is part of India, and Indian armed forces are not UN peacekeeping force mediating. India is not doing a mediating role. This is 2 sets of citizens had a clash, but there's a constitutional obligation on the government, and we will ensure that the people have these rights. That kind of thing to pressure them. But normal has sab changa hai, hospital has hospital working, and they're denying this fact.
और बार-बार इसको दोहराना कि 7,300 करोड़ 7,300 करोड़, आपको लगता है कि इससे लोग अपनी जो परेशानियां है, जो दुख है, उसको भूल पाएंगे? क्या पैसों से बीते हुए दिनों को खरीदा जा सकता है? Can you buy it?
Today I wrote something in my mother tongue on my social media on that. It's like a typical melodramatic, very painful moment. You see the villain coming in, torturing the family member, killing them in front of, sexually assaulting the woman. At the end, jip up and throw monies and goes back, kind of thing. I felt that like this. When you throw up these crores and others, I said, I'm talking about not crores. I'm talking about accountability of the people who have been killed, people who are missing, and people who are still languishing in there. Please address them. Your crores cannot be a substitute for these painful moments and the suffering. Please address this. that kind of thing. So if you're asking, my role has been to ensure that some people are trying to make it invisible. My job is to make it visible and press on. This is the job that we have been doing it, and to put things in perspective. There are a lot of some people talk as if it is binary and so on. Where wrong narrative, you have to correct it. But I said consistently, you have to take a position where the issue is seen through the lens of governance, rights of the people, and justice and institutional mechanism, rather than reducing into something like a personalized private fight between two communities and so on. That's the effort that I've been doing it. That's as a legislature. You remember that parliament comes from a word, French old word called parler, is to speak.
Yes.
So this is what I've been speaking, both inside and outside, putting things in perspective, putting pressure on the executive to do their jobs.
Like you do, we are also trying to ensure that there are parlays being created, discourse be created through our responsible journalism. I will not be commenting on who did not do what, who should have done what, but yes, we are trying to ensure, like Professor Akoijam said, that there are people who are trying to make it look invisible. We, through the lens of journalism, is trying to ensure that Manipur stays visible, because the pain is deep down inside, very, very personal. Because every time I met with a victim or somebody displaced from this side, that side, I've only seen human suffering. And for me, myself, going back home to have a peaceful sleep is always a heart cry. Nonetheless, the Prime Minister spoke about GST. So let's end this interview putting forth a question to the country. The GST has been brought down from 28%. What is the GST that people languishing in these relief centers are paying? And what is the GST on their suffering? While GST can reduce the cost of commodities, and the Prime Minister said your toothpaste, your shampoo, hair oil will now cost cheaper, let's remind this country, there are people who are there in these relief centers barely surviving on free ration and no income. So with or without GST on commodities, they are certain there is a GST on their suffering. And the question is, has that GST gone down from where it was in 2023? It is incumbent on India to find that answer. In Imphal, this is Tamal Saha for News the Truth, NTT.